Hi Chris, so we're on the one of the trial sites, aren't we, that C&I are running, and that on this particular one Safer Grow are participating for this season up in Market Wheaton in East Riding of Yorkshire.
That's right, Andy. We're here today, though you can't see much of the day.
No, you'll have to believe us, we're in a field.
And yeah, we're here on your section of the trial site. These trials obviously went into the ground at the time of drilling.
Yes.
Using the NutriFeeder with some of the products that you're looking at. Yeah, last autumn, last September, early October. Yep. They've progressed fairly well. And if you don't believe me in that, you can look at the website and see the continuous photography we take of the site, almost like a time lapse.
Right. Which website's that?
That's on the CNI website.
CNI website.
Yeah,
Righto.
yeah, and we'll put that together, and that at the end of the season will look pretty special in terms of how these plots progress. These plots are 4 metres wide, 28 coulters.
Yeah.
We looked at various machinery, but we opted for a horse drill.
Yes.
28 coulters, as you can see, and then the material went down the coulters at the same time as the seed. So we've got various materials that you elected to use through the NutriFeeder.
Yes.
And then I guess now we've got a plan now looking at the protocol for the spring.
To put some foliars on.
So we'll put the foliars on, superimpose them.
Yep.
What we can do on here, which is quite good, and it's probably the right time to say thank you to Mr. Rook and Sons for putting up with us on this site. We've got something like 6.5 hectares of trials here, and they're very compliant and very patient with us and very interested in what we're doing.
Certainly. I mean, you're saying it's not just this which is extensive enough, there is another field beyond you.
Oh yes, and then bear in mind we have that site on that away sand at home on Spalding Moor at Mr. Huddleston's there. Yep. Which has different problems, different soil types always impose different problems, and we're looking at different things there, and conjoined with yourselves and one or two other people.
And for people who might not be aware, this obviously has a number of uses. Primarily it's a research project for yourself and your collaborating companies such as ourselves, but you also later in the year, in the summer, you'll hold a few open days and invitational events where people can actually walk through the sites and see for themselves.
Absolutely, Andy. I mean, one of the things that we consistently talk about with you and others is that this is not only a scientific proving ground for us, but it's a demonstration site as well. And it's important that that we invite anybody local, local growers, customers of yours, customers of ours, to actually see that we don't just continually talk about these issues, we're actually putting them into practice and proving what we suggest is fact. I mean, we've done several assessments on your plots and the rest of the plots here where we've pulled up plants, assessed root mass, photographed them. You've got some of those results from your treatments. They're on your website as well as I think as well as ours. So we're continually monitoring these sites, and although Phil isn't with us today, Phil Elliott, who works with us now, he's basically doing that routine work, and yeah, it's progressing really nicely, and some of the results we've seen are absolutely astonishing when you look at untreated roots versus, you know, I mean, it just...
So just to run over the detail then, just to give everybody a full picture, as I say, all that's happened as regards treatment so far has been going through the drill applicator system NutriFeeder. And so there's been a whole range of products gone through that.
Absolutely.
In our plots, there's been 5-15-5 and NPK as a base, complemented with phosphite materials.
Certainly the phosphite materials, a range of those.
So primary aim of that is rooting. And then what our contribution at that stage was a cereal mix in this particular field, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Which, if I remember correctly, was sulfur, magnesium, boron.
Absolutely, boron
and some zinc,
and some zinc in there. But boron's an interesting one, and it's an area that we want to progress, Andy, in terms of cereals, because fertility of the plant is important, obviously, for seed set. And we want to start looking at foliar boron going forward. I know we've discussed this, and as I've discussed it with other colleagues, That's an area we want to major on in terms of foliar applications.
It's one of the areas.
Yeah, it's one of
expanded interest to try and see the impact of some more of these, a broader range of the minor nutrients than just the manganese.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, people would regard boron as probably most important on the brassica crops, oilseed rape, for instance. But it has a major impact on fertility and grain set within the cereal plant.
Yeah.
Particularly important as well for the ability of the plant to utilise soil moisture. Now, you know,
very important these days.
Well, it is, you know, and the more people I speak to, the more people are saying, look, we've been through what we've been through in terms of that protracted drought spell for the last 2 years. My view is that we could see the same repeated. So we've got to pay attention to that. It would be silly to just walk away from history and
so that's the
ignore
boron, but you know, you would probably throw into that water management basket zinc, maybe.
Absolutely, poor man's irrigation zinc. Yeah.
The potassium.
Yeah.
Better anything that helps with potassium, or any additional application of potassium, like
absolutely
5, all this will help the crop.
Absolutely, yeah. And if we can mediate against that problem, then as I said earlier on, we'd be daft to ignore it. Absolutely, absolutely.
So, as I say, in the next couple of months, we'll be looking at T0, T1, T2 sprays, and taking advantage of those for some foliar nutrition.
Yeah.
You've got the map there, Chris. I think you were saying that each of these runs will be split into 3 sections.
Into 3. So what we can do, each of these runs approximately 150 metres long. We can then split them into 3 and therefore try 3 different approaches on each one of these.
It'll be a nice effect because on the open day you can walk through it and see it, you know, changing with the application.
And then bear in mind the end result is taking it to yield. So all these plots will be taken to yield
you'll do
as well.
Assessments of that.
And all the assessments will be taken in terms of yield. That at the end of the day, you know, Rob Rupp, what's he going to do for me?
Looking for,
well, absolutely. That's you know, how much can that shed get filled with grain at the end of the day? But superimposed on that as well, we're talking about nutrition, Andy, but the agronomy package as a whole, the holistic view of this crop is important. So we've got to consider against the variety, against the soil type, what we're going to do in terms of weed control, top-up weed control here, what we've got to do in terms of the addition of fungicides. We'll continue to look at the addition of fungicides with nutrition, because that's an important factor that we've seen over the past 10 years. Nutrition adds an awful lot to the cake, if you like, to the pie when it comes to disease control.
Effect
absolutely, absolutely. So there's a lot to think about agronomically, and you know, you and I have spoken, and you've done some tests, and we need to look at compatibility work. All these issues have a bearing, so it's a fairly complex matrix of things we need to do, but we'll get there in the end.
So as far as foliar sprays, I mean, because it's split into 3, what we'll be doing is an untreated, it's just had the Nutri-Feeder, a T1 application, and then a T1 plus T2 application. And then we're going to look at applying the cereal mix again, which is interesting. That would give quite a bit of flexibility to the grower,
absolutely.
If he's put some down in the drill applicator in the autumn, if he's got product left, is there a benefit for using that up foliar, which we clearly believe.
Well, you're right in bringing that in conversation, because what we don't want to do is make people feel that the products we're trying here through the Nutri-Feeder are purely for the Nutri-Feeder application. You know, these products, to keep it relatively simple for the grower, are aimed at not only getting them into the soil at the same time as the seed, but the same product can be used as a foliar application later on. So each one has a bearing on timing and all those sort of issues.
That's right. So that will be an interesting plot to look at. And then the other areas we're looking at, obviously we're focusing on the alloy technology, which obviously Safer Grow's launching this year with AgroVista. The manganese we're looking at. We've got quite a good handle on that, and we've got some good trials results with that. But we're going to expand that into the magnesium, the sulfur, and the first of our co-forms, the manganese copper zinc.
Well, I mean, the manganese here, bear in mind we're on a woad soil, high calcareous soil, pH, I haven't got the soil results on me, but from memory around 7.5, 7.6. The implications of that regarding any nutrition are, you know, the self-evident. They're historically and scientifically proved that the higher the pH, the more lockup we get.
Yes.
Apart from probably molybdenum is a case in point where the higher the pH, the more it becomes available. But it's important to look at manganese, and I know, you know, you've done some work with STC as well.
Yes, we have
collaborated with,
Centre,
and so that's forging ahead. But we want to look at the influence of pH and manganese alloy on these soils as well.
Not necessarily, as we always like to say, deficiency correction, Chris. You know, it's a bigger picture than that, isn't it? What you're trying to offer people like Mr. Rook is a few more tools in the armoury for giving better chances of better yields more often. And nutrition has a role. It's not the answer, the be all and end all, but a broader
balanced, holistic view of the crop, Andy. And whilst we're not on a site here, which is, you know, I've occasionally seen, and in a dry time it's been exaggerated, a manganese deficiency on wold soils. They are normally reasonably aesthetically. You don't necessarily see that deficiency. But I know for a fact that where manganese is applied under these circumstances, then you do get a benefit.
And that's the difference.
And that's the difference. So this whole balance, a balanced approach. The other thing we've got to look at, of course, is cost. You know, it's extremely important for the grower. There's got to be a return. It's an investment in the crop, and that investment, I don't suppose anybody would put money in the bank, go back 11 months later and expect it to just be the same sum as you invested. They'd need a return on that investment. So all these things have to show a return on investment.
No, that's right. But I know what we're beginning to see in feedback from the field, Chris, with the manganese alloy is that its efficacy is such that growers could perhaps apply less, i.e. fewer applications, and we're not comparing that to the commodity products, that's comparing it against, you know, market-leading SCs. So that's where we're happy. I think offering good technology, you know, it'll have a price, but if it is flexible enough and gives the grower a chance to say, get on at T0 and almost cover his manganese requirement, then that's very useful for him.
Well, for me, I've got to reiterate that I'm totally independent on this. Whatever we do on this site, the report will come back, good, bad or indifferent. You know, I'm going to retain that I'm going to look from a distance. And so what you're trying and what you've sort of imposed on us to try on this site, I'm interested to see. I'll see for myself, and that's an important thing from my point of view. So my opinion is, now you've seen the site, not a good day to view the site, Andy, by any stretch, but we've formulated the plans to apply, and they'll get applied over the next fortnight, 3 weeks, depending on weather conditions. Some would like a bit more rain, some would say let's get spring barley out the way and let's get some land work done.
To be a little bit warmer.
So would I. So would I. So anyway, we'll put these into place, we'll come back and we'll revisit it later. So for now, that's
Thanks
great.
very much, Chris.
You're welcome.